So you want to break into advertising and you're thinking to yourself, shit, what now? Well, in this episode, I talked to Camilla Clarke. She's the country manager for a company called Give a Grad a Go. She gives us some great tips and tricks in terms of how to build your brand in a sort of a post-COVID world. But then also she talks to us about just the simple things that you can do to really set yourself apart from everyone else. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe below. And as always, enjoy the episode. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's really good to chat to you. For those who've just logged on to the channel, can you tell us a bit about who you are and what you do?
Yep, my name is Camilla Clarke. I am the country manager for Give a Grad a Go in Australia. So we're a global graduate recruitment agency. We're not sector or role specific, and my job is pretty much to grow our presence out here and help grads find jobs they'll love in Australia.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And enjoying the Australian weather?
Loving it. It is incredibly grey right now here in sunny Melbourne in the depths of winter.
It'll be different in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. I can't complain. It's good.
So since coming out here, you obviously worked for Give a Grad a Go in the UK as well. And a lot has changed in the last, let's say, 18 months in a kind of a, to coin that phrase, post-COVID world. What are some of the challenges that students face? Are they the same that they've always faced, or are there any new challenges that have popped up?
I think it's really interesting because, like you said, the last 18 months has been pretty much the recruitment industry, hiring, everything's been turned on its head. But what we have seen actually today out on our Instagram, Give a Grad a Go in the UK, they just posted up, we've got 150 jobs available. So that was really amazing to see there was a really long period of uncertainty, and you couldn't deny that people were being made redundant, grad programs were being paused. There was a lot of unhealthy press that was just, if you were a grad coming out of university, you'd be like, I'm not going to find a job. But now we're seeing that, especially this year, it's picking up hugely. It's bounced back, which is great. In terms of challenges, I'd say that it's just incredibly competitive like it has always been. And I think that you need to really be thinking about what your personal edge is and what you're really putting out there when you are applying and when you are, interviewing. Every kind of meeting counts, basically. Yeah,
definitely. And every interaction to some degree, whether that be online or in person or via Google Hangouts call. But one thing I've kind of talked about on the channel before is about treating yourself as a brand. And I'd love to hear from you. What have you seen grads do that have made themselves a bit more distinctive and marketable?
Yeah, good question. Loads of different stuff. I think at the core of that, it's all about being authentic. Don't try and be something that you're not. But if you do see someone putting something out there that you think's quite cool, say you're on LinkedIn, someone's done a video and you've really responded to that, try it out yourself. I actually, I had someone sent me their resume with a cover letter, but the cover letter was a digital cover letter, and it was pretty much a slideshow they'd made of their life to date. And I kind of compared it to their resume and I was like, wow, I wouldn't have got all that personality just from the page, called them straight away. And I felt like I already knew them, which I don't know if I did say that to them as well. And I was like, is this a bit weird for them? That I'm just cool being like, I feel like I know you. You know what you are. Say it. I was really, really impressed. And I thought that was amazing. And I think it was really cool that they'd taken the time to look back on themselves. It wasn't just, oh, I did this degree, I joined this club. It was more about them as a person and things that really made them who they are, which is cool.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely. And I think, one of the biggest traps we see a lot of grads fall into is that they're too insular in their approach to other people. And I don't mean that in terms of, I don't mean that in terms of not talking about who you are and what you do. Of course, talk about who you are and what you do, but how is that relevant to the person you're pitching to? And it's all about packaging that as well, right?
Yeah, I think the best advice when it comes to interviews as well, because everyone prepares answers, right? you should prepare, but it's listening to what the question is. I think people will hear a word that sounds like a question that they've prepared for and just go with that answer. You know, you've got that adrenaline going and you're nervous and you're not actually listen to what the question was.
Yeah, totally. And it's always one of those things where I think with nerves, you kind of shoot from the hip a little bit with answers.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I'm guilty of doing that still, and that's me interviewing someone. But I think it's yeah. One of the things there is just to kind of take a pause and think, and then say. And no one's gonna sort of think it's weird if you just kind of take it in and nod your head whilst you process it. I think it's always safer to do that, and it's actually dangerous to just start talking without thinking.
Yeah, I'm definitely still guilty of that.
So, one thing I talk about on this YouTube channel quite a lot, Camilla, is about LinkedIn and how, you know, people can utilize it, what grads need to do. I feel like a lot of grads just have this spray and pray approach of doing that. What have you seen grads do that have, you know, utilized the platform to their advantage?
There's been a couple really cool people that stand out who have worked on it over time. So, like I said before about putting yourself out there, like doing a video, there's like one person I've seen people kind of create a journey. So making sure that they put a post out there every day that's relevant content, but it's growing and it's building on that. And other people who've kind of committed to doing a video of like an update on their job search. If you're not at that stage where that's quite a lot and it's putting you way too much out of your comfort zone, things like making sure you have a professional photo. And I think like most people, most young people as well probably have like the latest iPhone, which has portrait mode, which is a really great way to get a good photo up there. Sorry to people who do, you know, professional headshots as well. But, you know, that's so important. And little things like on your page, that is a full representation of who you are and what you're putting out there. So not just thinking about the content that you're engaging with, but are there spelling or grammar mistakes? Like I have come across a few there, and just get everything on there that you have done, whether it's, you know, you volunteered somewhere or you've got some skills, you've recently done a course, like put that on there and treat it. I kind of like LinkedIn, I like treating it like your Instagram, you know, like it is, if you're a brand and you're building your Instagram, you want everything to make sense and be who you are. And so it's kind of, it is the same. It's that representation of you, basically.
Totally. And I love what you said about putting content out there, but you can do it in different ways if you, depending on how introverted or extroverted you are. Some people don't mind chucking videos out there, but some people might not feel as comfortable with that. But what I say to those people is, well, why don't you share an advert that you really like and put 3 key takeouts or 3 key things that you found interesting about it? You don't necessarily have to put your face on the internet, but at least then you're showing interest, you're showing value, and you're getting your name out there to some degree because someone will like it, and you can see all the analytics behind it anyway. It's worth doing. Yeah, I think a lot of people overlook actually having like a bit of a content plan for their I guess personal brand. I sound like I harp on a lot about that, but it's because it's because I feel really, it's so true though. And you know, it doesn't take long to kind of just sit there and go, well, where do I want to go in my career? What sort of industries interest me? What can I research, look at that industry and go, right, I'm just going to add my own spin on this. I'm going to start my own blog about this. Or every 3 days, I'm going to pick an ad that I like and write 2 things I like about it and just see what everyone thinks. And there's no one's going to shoot you down for that. It's a professional network. There aren't many trolls on there. And, you know, because people can't afford to do that. Just, you know, and as to your point, you could even start by doing that. And then as you feel more comfortable and growing, you just keep building on it.
Yeah. And actually with doing that research, you can figure out what you do enjoy. You know, as we're not sector specific, it means we'll speak to people who don't know necessarily what they want to do. And I always say, you know, when it comes to LinkedIn, why don't you connect with communities, you know, like startup communities that have so many different industries within that, follow them and start researching into that. And then if you do see something that interests you, post it out there, but you're learning as well. It's not just about what you're putting out there, it's what you're taking from it as well.
Totally. And I know that this YouTube channel is obviously all in the context of advertising, but Camilla, I'm keen to hear from you. I mean, I was the same when I came out of uni. Even though I did a master's degree in advertising and marketing, I still wasn't 100% sure about going into it. So what are some of the things that you ask grads when they feel unsure about where they want to go in their career?
That's a really good question. When they don't know what they want to do, and yeah, I was exactly the same. I studied history and I also always loved singing. And I was in this mindset that I was like, just going to be a singer. And then obviously like that didn't happen. Yeah, I had no idea. And I think that the most important thing that I always speak to grads about is what do you think you're going to be happy doing and be good at, and like really go down like back to your core and look at all of your experiences to date, whether it's academic or professional, whether it's that you know, and think about what are like the top 3 things I'm good at or I enjoy doing. Like, are you super organized? Do you actually organize all of your friends' diaries without even thinking that that's a skill? Or, you know, are you just really that person in the pub who can chat to anyone? Do you know what I mean? It's those sorts of things where that's where we kind of start, and then start thinking about different kind of industries. There might be emerging industries I haven't heard of. Obviously, you know, if there's down the advertising avenue, like I will delve deeper and ask, you know, okay, what's like, you know, an advert you've seen recently that really excited you? Or is there an agency that you just love to work for? Because especially when it comes to marketing, PR, advertising space, I think especially I felt it. It's very sexy.
Oh, behave. Yeah. Yeah, baby.
For a grad, you know, it's really, it's exciting, it's enticing, but I think that there needs to be that level of understanding of what it actually is and what it entails.
Totally.
So delving deeper into those questions, because they might turn around and go, I don't know, actually. Like, I don't know why I want to go into advertising. It's like, okay, that's okay, but go do some research or go look at these things, or maybe why don't you research this industry alongside it or this type of role and have a look, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, totally. And one of the best bits of advice I ever got in my career was early on in my career, where I was always on this sort of fringe of going, do I stay in account handling or do I go into strategy? My boss actually said to me, well, why don't you just ask 5 people, where have you seen me at my best? And I was like, shit, that's so like profound. I'm like, yeah, right. and then it's like, well, okay, so where have you seen me at my best? And it's like, well, you're really good at talking to people. You're really good at presenting. You're really good at doing that. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's like, I am that person, by the way, that organizes everything.
Yeah.
So you kind of
go, you smile.
yeah. So you kind of go like, oh, right, okay, yeah, well, actually, I think I am on the right path. But it's always good to sense check and just keep asking yourself that question, because just because you've taken one path so far doesn't mean you have to stick to it, right?
Yeah. Especially nowadays. Like my dad stayed in the same job for 40 years. Exactly. He was an actuary, so he did it for exactly 40 years. Like, wow. Super analytical guy. But now people, I think it's on average, you change careers like 4 times in your life.
Wow.
On average. So yeah, I think it's just following the right path. Like you said, I love that. I'm going to steal that ask 5 people.
But so is there still time for you to have a singing career then?
Maybe. I hope I'm gonna tap into the market in Melbourne.
So say for example, you've built your brand, you're getting leads from people from posting all that up, you land an interview and you're in the room with your prospective manager. What are some of the key questions should grads be asking when this is their first job?
Yeah. I always like to say that it's just important to think about questions that you care about. So the idea of the questions obviously is for you to learn more about it, but you really want to show them that you're taking this seriously and that you are envisaging yourself working with them for the foreseeable future. So, you know, in, say, for example, why are they hiring for this role? Is it a completely newly created role? Have they had someone move up recently? What does that kind of progression plan look like? And also another one is, I love this one. This one you need to kind of test the room with, but giving them an opportunity to call you out on anything that they might not be sure about so far from all the questions. So just saying, you know, we've had this conversation. Is there anything that you're still not sure about? Is there anything that, you know, from what you're looking for that maybe you can't see within me right now? And they could, depending on what sort of interviewer you've got, they could say, well, yeah, this, and then that gives you a chance to objection handle it and be like, well, maybe I haven't shown this example enough. And again, I think that question, it depends on the type of person you are. When I was a grad, I would have found that really hard, but, you know, practicing that is good. But yeah, asking those sorts of questions that are like, what's progression like? What's my first month of training going to be like? What would you think is successful in 6 months' time in this role? So you can really get an idea of what this is going to look like.
I love those sort of like probing questions about, you know, because you're automatically putting yourself in that company. And, you know, in the interviewer's mind, they're kind of assessing how you fit the whole time. One great question I was told by a recruiter was that you should ask at the very end, the very last question is, what challenges would a candidate face coming into this role? And the reason to ask that is because they put you in that. I've actually even had people say, well, I'm going to use you as an example. And you go, yes, please, because that's when you can then iron out any objections they might have about you. So say, for example, it's like, oh, well, Chris, we, you know, your degree is in geography. So why do you think, you know, that makes you relevant for this role? And then, you know, you got to try and wing an answer. I think I can't remember what I said at the time, but I'm good at coloring in. So I like art. I don't know, but it's,
I'm a landscape thinker.
yeah. That's, yeah. Oh dear. And well, speaking of that, it actually brings me nicely onto my next question, which is coming towards the end of this interview. But it's there are a lot of grads who don't actually have, let's say, relevant or let's say like proper work experience. If you have if you have no experience or you don't feel it's that relevant, like how do you package that into something that your interviewer might find valuable? Yeah.
I think especially in the advertising industry, like, as you know, it's so competitive. You've got people who've either studied it or they've got in like work experience. So how is someone who has nothing on their resume or anything that's showing an interest? So I think you need to try and get some volunteering experience or any sort of experience or exposure or shadowing, or, you know, engaging with like, you know, this YouTube channel and getting a real feel of it and sharing that. Because if you have shown no clear interest in it, then why is someone going to hire you alongside someone who has taken that time to at least explore it? So I think you need to start there before going for those types of roles, to be honest.
Yeah, brilliant. So to recap, volunteering work, engaging with channels and putting your hand up to take part in these sort of things. Another one, which is pretty rogue, I saw this one grad do it. He just said he was a consultant, but he watched YouTube channels and became expert at Google AdWords. And so then when he was applying for his entry-level role as a junior planner at a digital agency, it's like, yeah, of course we'll take this guy on. You know, it's but his degree was in philosophy.
Love it. But there, he's taken the time. He's clearly been like, I'm just going to do it. Like, it's the self-learners who are amazing. And I think that's another thing, is going back to like your first question of what are the challenges grads have emerging now. Is COVID, what it did do is it gave people more time, and those grads who use that time wisely who have all the certificates, you know, over their LinkedIn, or there's so many grads I've spoken to in the last year who have been studying, like learning how to do Python, and they did, you know, like a Bachelor of Arts, and they're doing all these additional digital courses and things like that. Those are the people that really stand out to me, who have been thinking, okay, yes, this is going to be tough, but what can I do to just take my skills to the next level and stand out?
Yeah, totally. And it's a term that a colleague of mine has coined as 100%ers. And you can just, you know, when you meet them, you know straight away that they're that type of person, because they'll talk to you about, why they've done what they've done instead of what they've done, if that makes sense. You kind of go, I want to learn this to sharpen my skills in X. And you go like,
yeah, they've got a plan, which can be really, really intimidating. I've spoken to many intimidating grads, but those are the ones that I'm like, you're going to succeed. You terrify me.
In a good way. Yeah, I'm going to end up working for you one day.
Exactly.
Camilla, thank you so much for coming on today. Where can people find out more about you and your company and what you guys do?
A few different ways. LinkedIn, number one. And if you are listening and you're a grad and you don't have a LinkedIn profile, please, 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 please make one. So you can follow Give a Grad a Go on LinkedIn. We have a website, giveagradago.com/AU. We also have a UK one. We have a jobs board on there as well. So you can register if you just want to keep a track of what's, you know, you haven't graduated yet, want to keep a track of new roles coming on, or you can apply. We've got a TikTok, which I love. And
check you guys out.
It's blown up. I love it. Like it brings me joy. It's so good. And got an Instagram, and we have a YouTube channel as well, which has been great to kind of just share lots of different tips about interviewing and industries and stuff there. So I don't know all the handles.
No, that's okay. I'll link. No, it's okay. I'll link them in the show notes. So
that would be a boring monologue.
Well, Camilla, it's been great chatting to you. Thank you so much for all the treasure trove of insights for grads looking to break into the advertising industry, but more broadly, just in the creative industries and getting their first job. I'm sure they'll find it truly useful. Thank you. Thank you for all the hard work you're doing with this as well. Love it. Thanks for having me.